Welcome. My name's Harry Tanguy. This is Cornwall, Lusty Glaze. Hopefully it's not too windy for you, but we'll see how it goes really. I wanted to talk about the policing by the Met in London with the Palestinian, it's march, it's not a protest, and just generally about tolerance with other religions, cultures, whatever. My rules are pretty simple really. You should be tolerant to everyone until they start imposing their beliefs onto you. And I think that's what's happening in this country. It has been for a while. Ireland are getting fed up with it. Europe generally. But when you've got huge immigration, mass migration, which would be fine, but then it starts taking over the resources. Oh my God, you'll get the woke people going, oh, this is terrible, we should call people. No, that's fine. And you should show love and empathy for individuals who need it, but not for those who want to impose very strict changes on your life. And that's not good. Not happy with that at all. And so I'm thinking in particular, you know, my girlfriend is Muslim, Arab, from Jordan. And she's the most delightful, lovely, beautiful human being in the world. And, you know, she's quite knowledgeable on Islam, on the Quran, and I'm an atheist. So that we get on just fine, beautifully, in fact, for a couple of years now. Two things I learned from her was that I really particularly struck a chord is that you're going to be very careful when you read the Quran and when Quran is quoted, what biased translation was given to that, because whoever translates it from the original language, of course, is very much to the biasness of the translator or the author, if you like. The other thing is that there's a piece in the Quran that's very clear in the fact that any Muslim should obey the laws of the land of the country that they are in. Now, you don't hear that very much. So basically, anyone who comes to this country should obey the laws of this country. So Sharia law, for example, is laws about religion and all that, but they should very much keep the laws of this country being the overarching for everything else. Now, so anyway, as you know, I'm an atheist, and I see these marches going on in London, and my concern is that policing's lost its way. I think society has, because we're pandering around, not upsetting anyone, but actually not recognising that the people we're trying not to upset are generally can be just bullies who want to impose their very extreme views. I wish we could just stop talking about race. Oh, he's white, of course he'd say that. No, just stop talking about race, because there's so many extremists, there's some anti-police activists who are using their colour to muscle their own opinions and their hatred for authority or police or whatever. And if we could just treat each other as individuals and give them the respect that everyone deserves if they deserve it, and if they don't deserve it, then they get told that way. Wouldn't that be a wonderful world? And race should come into it. Cultures, if you can live together, but it shouldn't impose on the individual, the other person. Especially as we are, you know, a Catholic country. And we do, you know, it's interesting, isn't it? If I said I'm an English nationalist, you'd think, oh, extreme right wing. And, you know, you'd think, but, you know, I'm a Welsh nationalist. Hurrah! I'm a Scottish nationalist. Hurrah! I'm an Irish nationalist. Hurrah! I'm an English nationalist. So it just shows what the problem is, doesn't it? Because people think it's very black and white. You know, the good guys in the cowboy films have got the white hats and the bad guys have got the black hats. And so when you get Palestine and Israel, it's very easy. You're one way or the other. No, it's not. And haven't we learned anything from the wars that we've butted in? And I think we've got our own problems in this country. And I think enough is enough. If we're having these aggressive, oppressive, extremist marches going on in London, they need to be stopped. And unfortunately, we have lily-livered, cowardly, moral cowardice bosses and politicians, and we've had them for quite some time. Caveat, there's always some good bosses, and there's some good politicians. My local one, for a start, is a good politician. All right, so there are exceptions, but generally they get swamped by the cowardice of these political police bosses that are so scared of the streets themselves. They soared up the ranks by saying the right things at the right time to the right people, and actually ignoring policing on the way, leaving the front line, the decent men and women who are just doing a decent job, to put up with what's left. And what's left is they're trying to police with a disillusioned police force, with more people leaving than actually joining, and they haven't got the resources or the expertise to deal with what's going on in London. So what you have is you can't put your union flag up there because it's going to upset the other side, and we ain't got enough people to deal with them. And the latest one is that Jew, thoroughly reasonable, decent person who said, look, I live in London. It's now been for 6 months. London's been taken over on a weekend, and every Jew feels scared to move around. And what are you doing for us? I'd like to walk over there. No, you can't, even because you look like very much with a Jew, and you're just going to antagonise that march. Well, you shouldn't. That shouldn't antagonise a march if it's peaceful. So, but what they're saying is we haven't got the officers to deal with that. Okay, that's a slippery slope, isn't it? Mob rule. Yeah, that's what's happening. Mob rule. Nobody should tell the police if it's been assessed and who's right, who's wrong, who's breaking the laws. Nobody should tell the police what they can and cannot do. Physically, it's getting a bit more difficult because of the very poor leadership, that we just don't recruit, and we're too scared to police because it might look a bit untidy if you grab someone by the bloody neck and nick them and drag them off, and then they get filmed, and then, look, officer 3925 is bloody, look what he's doing, and then the media freaking hit on them because we haven't had an independent media for so long now. So this is the problem. This is what you are left with. A police force who is too afraid to police, with willing participants in the front line who have been handcuffed themselves and unable to do the job that they've been tasked to do. What it needs is some very hard policing to get rid of this stuff. And if people are coming into this country, already sounds racist, but if you listen to the words, if you come into this country and then you try to change the country to the one that you've left, then there's a serious problem there. And you will use every way that you possibly can in order to get those changes. And most of the time it's to say it's racist if you don't let them do it. Then just through massive numbers, and social media means you can get a protest like that absolutely overnight. Whereas in the old days, you really needed to be a big issue to canvass the support to then do a march. Now it's done overnight. So I don't think the protest thing works. It's not freedom of expression, it's just bully boy tactics. And it needs to stop. And it's going to break now because it's gone too far. And there's probably going to be another riot like 2011. It's got to hit rock bottom before it starts again. And, it's depressing, isn't it? That's why it's quite nice being in Cornwall right now. And in the meantime, I will be very happy with my partner, who is the sweetest person I've known, and we get on like really well. And that brings me to people like Lawrence Fox. You know, if you don't listen to a podcast or you don't listen to this guy, and because you're just, that name says extreme right wing, blah, 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 all the names he's been given. And I've been listening to these blokes, these people, and I'm still waiting for all the ones who the media have decreed as extreme right wing. And I'm listening to their argument and their thing, and I'm thinking, well, okay, there's nothing bullyish about that, nothing extremist about that, nothing this, that and the other about that. Okay, so I'm waiting for the racist bit. No, it seems quite reasonable. It reflects my views, it reflects many people who I think can't stand the guy because they've been listening to the media or what people have said, what they do to me. You know, they say, oh, did you hear what Tanguy said? You know, it's the usual stuff of, you know, I'll say that actually to bring children up in two parents is known to be the best way to bring up kids. And there's somebody who will twist that of low education, will screenshot it and say, Tanguy isolating single mothers devaluing them and all this on it. It's just rubbish. And of course, that's what people read and see. So always listen to the source if you're brave enough. But it's scary. It's scary how the world has gone. And if people don't like if people are stepping outside the narrative, they will be got rid of. But I think things are changing slowly. People have had enough. The silent majority have had enough. And they'll say, I will not stand for it any longer. I don't quite know what we're going to do in order to not stand for it, but we're not going to shout racist, abusive, violent, aggressive slogans like what's going on at the moment is being permitted. So we shall stamp our feet in defiance instead. Have a lovely day, everyone. And just be nice to everyone, but then don't be nice. Don't be nice. Being nice is the worst thing you can do sometimes. Sometimes you've got to stand up and not be nice instead of hiding under the radar, which I've been guilty of myself, because you know, certain things will just mean you get a load of targeted abuse. And people like Lawrence Fox, for example, say these things, sometimes not in pretty ways, and he's the first to admit that, you know. But you don't have to like 100% of everything everyone says. And people will like some things I've said and some things they'll vehemently disagree with. All right, and that used to be a good thing. You used to get debate and discussion then. It's all stopped in it. It's rubbish. You're either Brexit or Remainer. You're either, and then families don't talk to each other and all this. I've never lost mates. I've never lost my opinion of someone because they've been a Brexiteer or a Remainer or whatever. You know? Oh my God. People are sad. Enjoy it, everyone. Have a good life.